guests that I wanted to talk to about a couple of different issues. I'm joined today by Wendy Gallant from Ontario and Dan Schroeder from where?
Menominee, Michigan.
Oh, you're in Michigan. Okay, so you're just south there.
Mhm. Yep.
And Dan got a video that we're going to take a look at today, kind of an interesting video.
Mhm.
Sort of reminds me of one we got here in 1975 when I first got going. Um, but let's start by um, each participant, except for me, describing what their background is and how they got to where we are today. So, Wendy, you can start.
Okay. Again, I have the site Learning Intuitive site. I teach people how to see with the blindfold on. And I actually, Dan is one of my subscribers. So I knew him from that. And then we went over to the Big Orb retreat and I met him there. And that's when he showed me the video that he had, and it just blew me away. I'd never seen anything like it. And I've seen a lot of videos of UFOs in the sky. I'd never seen anything like this one. So anyway, we hung out for the few days there. And when we got back, we kept in touch. And I just thought that you needed to see this video because, like I say, I'd never seen anything quite like it. So, yeah, so that's
Yeah,
how I met Dan.
good. Okay, Dan, give us your background a little bit.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Uh, my name is Dan Schroeder. I'm from the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area, and I moved up to Menominee, Michigan for the legal cannabis and favorable sky watching conditions about 10 years ago. Ever since I was a kid, I've always loved aliens, extraterrestrials, Sasquatch, the paranormal, all kinds of mysteries. Um, and when I was a teenager, I had a onboard experience on a UFO, and it radically shifted my paradigm and worldview. Um, at the time, not many people in my life would believe me or understand at that time. So eventually, I kind of shut it down for a few years and didn't talk that much about it. But I kept my interest up in extraterrestrials and just more quietly. And I just kept my family reunion with them to myself, so to speak. So then at 24, I had a out of body near death experience, and in which I met like God or Source or all that is, whatever you prefer to think of it as. I was given a choice at that time to go back to Earth and reincarnate, or to stay there on the other side in basically like perfect love, light, bliss. And at the time, I remember saying that I had more to do here and I wanted to go back. So then I woke up in the hospital back in my body. And I spent most of my time since then first finding and now fulfilling what I believe to be my destiny. It took me several challenging years to get here, but I do know now exactly why I did chose to come back. I am a first contact Earth ambassador. My mission is to be one of the first human beings to make contact with extraterrestrials on my own and to establish peaceful, loving, and diplomatic relationships with them in order to help humanity ascend into the age of Aquarius in the best way possible for all. Um,
Beautiful. So, in your near-death experience, you saw the white light, or can you go a little more detail
yeah,
into what you saw there, how it happened, and how long you were there?
sure. So in I was 24 years old, and I was stabbed in the chest, right next to the heart. And when I made it to the hospital, um, they were operating on me, and I I exited my body at that point. And I remember looking down on myself, and then like as soon as I looked down, it was like all the pain, because it was like the most painful and like traumatic and horrible kind of a situation you could imagine for me, at that point. But all of it went away like the second that I left my body. And it was just this super relieving feeling. And I could see like the doctors and the nurses, and they were still talking to me and everything. And at the time, my body was even like, it looked like I was awake. Like I could see my body screaming, but I was out of it. So I floated through the ceiling at that point. That's what it felt like to me. And then I emerged into what I could only describe as a white light. It looked like there's this scene in the movie The Matrix where they show Neo what the Matrix is, and he goes into the white room, and there's like a white. He's just in a chair, and everything else is white. There's no walls or ceiling really, or you can't really tell where they start or where they end. That's exactly how it looked to me at there. It was just white light, but this beautiful, loving feeling. And I knew exactly where I was too. Like it was familiar and, for me at that point. So it was like a really beautiful experience. Uh, Basically, I was just at some point, like I just knew that I had to make a choice. And so I just remember at that point thinking, I have more to do here. I want to go back. And then, boom, I just woke up and I was in my body in the hospital in the recovery room. I had gone through surgery and everything, and my family was around me.
Wow. Because you may know that with experiencers, the free survey that was done a number of years back, 4,200 experiencers, of the people that answered the question, 37% of all experiencers said that they'd had a near-death experience. So my question, I guess, related to that is, do you think this was a random event, or do you think this was part of your contract to experience this to shift you around?
Uh, that was 100% part of my contract, my like life contract. I'm very familiar with that concept with the Michael Newton, like between lives and stuff. I was turned on to that by your podcast and about that actually. So, but yeah, I firmly like I know unequivocally that that's the case. That was like definitely as tragic and difficult as it is for me to say. I really do believe that.
Wow. So let's get to the film. Have you been filming a long time, or is this just a unique one-time film? Or tell me the story of the film.
So okay, yeah, this particular film was one of the first that I captured doing CE5 and that kind of thing on my own with my video camera. I had bought this camera in 2021, and I just started using towards the end of the year. And then 2022, this is from July, so it was like for me up in the Upper Peninsula, that's kind of just when really getting nice out. And so I was at my first camp out event. So I like to go to music camp outs and on the weekends and stuff like that. So I was at this. My friends throw this festival called Moon Dance, and so I went down to Moon Dance and I brought my camera and I was really excited about going there and seeing all my friends and everything. This is kind of coming out of the pandemic too, so I hadn't seen everybody for a long time. So a lot of good energy and excitement in the air, and everybody's really happy to be together again. It's just a really good time. So after the Thursday night pre-party, I went behind my campsite, and there's a big empty field, and like the stars were just beautiful. So I just did some coherent thought sequencing and some of my contact modalities that I utilized, and set up my camera, and I just had this beautiful night. I mean, there was like at least a dozen different craft that interacted with me at that point. And at about 3:54 a.m., this particular craft that we're going to watch the video of comes through. And at first, it just looked like kind of flashing lights coming at me. But I had this feeling that it was extraterrestrial. And I even like said out loud, like, oh, hello, friends. And then as it approached, I kind of was like, oh, I don't know. It's got flashing lights, because most aircraft has flashing lights. So it kind of hesitates to make sure that it's not an aircraft. But as it got closer, I could see that these were no normal strobes, and this was not a normal aircraft. The flashing was like this linear concentrated light that looked like two laser beams in front of the craft, and it was shooting these red and green laser-like beams out in front of the craft. Ahead of it, like a certain distance, the laser beams would stop, and then the craft would basically disappear from the location that it was at, and then appear at the edge of where those laser-like beams had just stopped projecting forward. Then it would go again and again and again, like leapfrogging up ahead. So it was like teleporting through the space in front of me. It was one of the most, crazy. It was the craziest thing that I've ever seen doing that. So yeah, I was pretty honored to capture it on video. While I was filming it, I was kind of panning the camera in the direction that the craft was traveling. And there's a couple of frames in which I kind of caught the outline of the craft as it appeared to me. Because on video, when you see the video, it's moving so fast, and the camera is stationary, so it looks like it's kind of elongated or blurry. But as I'm panning the camera, you catch the actual shape of it that I saw with my eyes, because it looked basically like a black bat flying through the air the entire time. Really peculiar, really amazing.
Wow. Yeah, and there's not much chance at 3:54 in the morning you got a plane flying around. Unless it's some sort of military thing. But yeah, so it was like how long was it in sight, and how did it appear and how did it disappear? It just sort of it appeared the way you described it, but how did it disappear?
Yeah, it flew off in the opposite direction, and it faded away, and that was it. I didn't see it again after that.
Moving fairly fast, or according to
I did estimate the size and the speed of the craft based upon some measurements I was able to take of the horizon and other aircraft that were in the area. And I estimate that its size was about 84 feet, and the speed was around 200 miles an hour, I'm guessing. That would be if it was at about 50,000 feet, which is my estimate for it. But there's a chart
okay.
at the end of the video which shows some other options if it, was a little different.
Okay, so let's go to the video. You can share screen and let's check it out here. And why do you use the triangle and the circle? Is there a reason behind that?
That is actually one of my contact symbols. I use that that's one of my contact modalities. The symbol is made from the illuminations of the craft. So I like cut the illuminations out and then made these symbols out of them, basically.
Okay.
It's a call symbol for them.
Okay.
The video that you're about to see is 100% real and authentic. No alterations, CGI, AI, or Photoshop were used in the making of this video. In person, the craft looked like a large black metallic bat flying through the air, shooting lasers or some type of linear concentrated light and/or plasma ahead of it as it traveled. The laser-like beams were composed of green light from the left side of the craft and red light from the right. Occasionally, an orange light and/or plasma also projected from the middle of the craft. There is also occasionally a ball of light produced between the tips of the two main green and red laser-like beams. It was shooting these laser-like beams out in front of it, ahead of the craft a certain distance, and the next instant the craft would disappear from its current location and simultaneously reappear at the edge of where the laser-like beams had just stopped projecting forward. Then the laser-like beams would project forward again, a similar distance ahead, and the process repeated itself over and over again. The craft completed these micro advances very rapidly, literally teleporting to its new location 4 times in every second. On video, the craft morphs its shape or disappears with every micro-teleportation advancement. You can see the laser-like beams projecting forward and other light-based flashes pretty clearly, but the actual craft changes its shape constantly. Within a couple select frames, the craft outline is more apparent. I marked those spots as freeze frame 4 and freeze frame 5 in the last clip. During those specific frames of video, I was panning the camera in the direction that the craft was traveling at the time. Those particular moments most closely aligned with the craft's movements, resulting in clearer images of the craft.
Oh, shit. Holy shit.
In the next section of video, each video frame is marked sequentially with the numbers 1 through 6. Each grouping of 6 frames represents 1/4 second in real time and showcases one micro-teleportation advancement. Each of the craft's progressions is individually unique. The craft displays a different pattern of light and color with each movement.
So I'll stop it there for a second. This is basically it, but I just wanted to point out that like the crafts, this, if you can you see my mouse on the
Yep,
screen?
yep, yep.
This particular one is the most closely aligned with what the craft actually looks like. This frame, and this frame as well. Those two freeze frames that I marked as freeze frame 3 and freeze frame 4 are from those two individual frames. Now, in the screen, the craft at times like it looks blurry here. It looks blurry. It's elongated in these parts, and this is the craft back here. In front of it is these laser like projections out in front of it. So this red and green and the stuff this is out in front of the craft, and the white part here that's reflecting here is actually the craft. But the craft is again black. It's just reflecting this color to it on the video.
Okay. And let me ask you, so what do you think? I mean, because this is kind of a unique view of a craft. I haven't really seen anything like this. So what do you think it was doing? Do you think it was actually just a craft that you happened to catch flying along, or do you think that it was showing off for you?
This was definitely showing off for me personally. This is these are hybrids. What I believe to be hybrids. Hybrids are what are commonly known as the Greys, a cross between the Greys and current Earth humans, basically. Hybrids are talked about by Bashar and Daryl Anka and the other Sasani channels such as Ryo and Rohan and others like that. Um, I first came upon Bashar and Daryl Anka from your show, and eventually, like I say, these are actual hybrid vehicles, is what I believe. They came to see me basically.
Okay, so what happens after this? Do you start going out every night and did you get anything more?
Yeah, yeah. I've got two other hybrid videos. This is the only one that I've publicly shared right
Okay.
now. I
Yeah.
have one other one that's ready that I can show if you're interested in seeing
Sure,
it.
sure. Yeah. Let's
Okay. And yeah, I did show them at the Big R Contact Modalities tour recently, but that's the only place that I've shown these so far. So the one that we just watched is live on my YouTube channel right now, so that's available. And the one that we're going to watch, I will be uploading once this interview takes
okay,
goes.
good.
So
And if you need a copy of this video, if you want to share it on your YouTube, I'll give you a copy.
great, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. This is my contact symbol for Arcturus, which I believe that craft that we just saw, the back craft, was a Arcturian and a Yael craft. Those are the entities.
And who was your contact with? Can you talk a little bit about your contact experience?
With yeah, sure. So yeah, I was a teenager at the time, and it totally rocked my world. I mean, I was not expecting anything like that. I was like really into extraterrestrials. I loved them, like that's I
Yeah.
made lots of art and stuff like that. I drew them on everything, but I had my own like language that I made up that was like basically like crop circle letters and stuff like that. Anyway, yeah, I went to this camp out event when I was 17 years old. It was called Little Further in Summer, Wisconsin, and I retreated to rest in my tent. And when when I got there, basically um, this like fog or mist kind of opened up in my tent, and then it was like it got real thick, and it felt like a movie or something. Really, I mean, it was like really weird, and all of a sudden the sides of my tent like spread out, like they just moved and were like no longer, I was no longer like they just opened up completely, and then I emerged into um like this octagon room, and I was on a table at that point, like a metallic table, and then these what I perceived to be at the time anyway, like kind of green looking extraterrestrials emerged basically out of this mist, this fog that was still in the room around me. And then they basically they told me over and over again that they were my real family. Uh, that was like the primary thing from the experience that I took away. Um,
Okay, I always like to ask the question, do they have any clothes on?
I don't remember them having clothes on. No,
Or sex organs, or could you identify males versus females, or
no, I couldn't.
no?
No, no,
And any hair or
no, not that I know. No, the hair.
mouths, noses?
They had large eyes, small mouths, very small noses, and their arms were really skinny. Like it was like, and then they were like kind of bendy, almost like they could. The way that they were moving was like kind of flowy and more liquidy than normal reality experience. I guess is how best way I can put it.
Any messages or communication with them?
Uh, mostly that mostly just that they're my family. They're my real family. Um, not too much beyond that. That's kind of personal, I guess.
And any other contacts before or after? Any weird stuff when you're a kid, poltergeist type stuff or anything like that?
Not too much. I saw, I saw one craft when I was young, like before that, when I was a kid, that kind of scared me a little bit. It was like a purple light in the sky. I just
Uh-huh.
thought it was really weird because it was purple, and I couldn't believe that. Never heard of anything like that. When I was a kid, certainly. So, but no, not too much other than that. After just these hybrid videos, kind of since is in my connection that way, and I have had some other experiences since then with my crystal skull and these avians as well. That
Avians?
yeah, um, the avians are like they're like these birds. They look like birds, but they look like kind of like a brown bird, but they have like this rainbow sheen luster on their outside of their feathers,
Okay.
and like it looks like they're like flecks of like sparkles of blue and red light or something, or like speckling off of them when you see them, and they flew into and out of like they came in from what I perceived to be either a portal or a wormhole in the sky, and they like come in and they fly in and they all are together and they're like dancing almost when they're flying. They're like it's the most beautiful thing, one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. They're like these, they're brown, but they have this rainbow sheen luster, and then they're shedding this red and blue illuminescent stuff, and they're just dancing in, weaving in back and forth between each other, and as they're flying, they were really, really interesting. I was actually at another event with that there were people at too, but like I don't think anybody else could see them. And I tried to record these things on my video camera, but they would not show up on the camera. Not at all. It was crazy. It was crazy. So
How many experiences have you had with those things?
just that one. Just that
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And do you meditate?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Any success with any sort of breakthrough in trying to get impressions or direction, or because if you're on a path, I mean, do you know what you're supposed to do next, or what you're
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah, I
how,
do. I mean,
okay, go ahead.
like, well, I mean, it's kind of a long story. Is it all right?
Sure, sure, yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. So, like earlier this year, I basically was decided to just go within myself. It's numerologically, this year adds up to 7, and that's a good time to go within. So I chose to do that this year. And in my going within, something in me, I knew that I needed a crystal skull. So I got this crystal skull, and um, and then like Um, so, um, so I had gone to this other place last year in Wisconsin that's called Aslan, and it's a an Indian mound site. And
Okay.
I had a really interesting experience there last year with this craft from Draco, and it was a real high energy craft that came in from another dimension, faded in, flashed me, and then faded out. And so something in me wanted to take my crystal skull to this place, and it's like it's connected to Atlantis, and um, so um, the there's do you know are you familiar with the legend of the 13 crystal skulls of Atlantis?
A little bit, yeah. I,
Okay.
but explain for people who don't.
Sure, yeah, yeah. In Atlantean times, their culture was essentially run by what's known as the Council of 13, and the Council of 13 um, utilize crystals and crystal skulls and sacred rituals and magic, things like that. Those are all some of the tools that I utilize, and they use them to basically bless the earth and each other and create a golden age. That's my belief and understanding
Okay.
from my research and studies, and so um, it was my intent to uh, reawaken the heart, history, and wisdom of that golden age of Atlantis again. And there's a number of individuals that are also doing this that I discovered later on. But earlier this year, I was just kind of discovering a lot of this, and I had got this crystal skull with not knowing why I needed it, but just knowing that I needed it. And then I got the instinct to bring it to Aslan, which again is connected to Atlantis. And that gave me the idea to try to connect my crystal skull with the 13 crystal skulls of Atlantis and the Council of 13.
Okay.
So I went to Aslan with that purpose on the summer solstice. And I brought my camera and I did a ritual to connect my crystal skull with the 13 crystal skulls of Aslan. And during that ritual, um, my skull, my crystal skull, physically came alive. Um, it, I set it up on the top of the largest pyramid mound, and I did this ritual, and I called upon the legendary 13 crystal skulls of Aslan, Atlantis, and then I placed my hand on it, just on the back of the head. And the skull started to vibrate, like shaking with this insane power. And I was given like a vision of, and like this energy at the same time was flowing through it. So like this, the skull was shaking and vibrating and saying, and then I would like, it, it felt like this energy was coming from the core of the earth and shooting through the skull and then into me through my body. So um, I finished my ritual, and during that, I one of the things that I do is invoke and a connection, my connection to the hybrids, and I actually did see another hybrid craft at that event during that. So that's I just that's a good example of following my
Yeah.
intuition.
Intuition, yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Well, so your story is a little more elaborate than I thought it was, but it would make sense if you got this experience and got the contract. It's just once you open up, then it starts to come with different events and
yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen next. I just like know when I know what I know when I know that I need to do something. I know I have to do it. It's just like that.
Beautiful. Okay, so let's look at the second video that you have.
Sure, thank you. Um, so this second video is from it's from my house in Menominee, Michigan. I was out in the backyard last September, and I was doing a CE5, and it was a beautiful night, and I had just started, so I was pretty shocked to see this so early. But here we go.
The video that you're about to see is 100% real and authentic. No alterations, CGI, AI, or Photoshop were used in the making of this video. This video documents a very special encounter that I recorded with an extra-dimensional UFO that travels in an out-of-this-world kind of way. I was very surprised when I first saw this craft, partly because it showed up only 3 minutes and 21 seconds into my contact meditation, and I just thought, how could they have heard me already and gotten here? With my unaided eyes, I could not tell from the ground that the craft was traveling in such a strange way. It looked odd, and I got the feeling that it was extraterrestrial, but without being able to see it closer, I naturally questioned it. The craft was traveling from a pretty far distance away at the time. That made it challenging for me to discern the extraordinary propulsion system that is evident on video. As you will be able to observe on video, this craft travels in a unique manner. It appears to be projecting some type of auric rings in front of it, which seem to pull the craft through the atmosphere. The craft also has a fluid-like appearance to its movements, making it seem to be swimming through this dimension. I have never seen or heard of anything like this before other than the Batcraft, which also displays an exotic form of propulsion. This craft comes onto the screen from above the eastern skyline, just south of Taurus, then goes through Orion. This was recorded in Menominee, Michigan, which means that this UFO was flying over Green Bay and Lake Michigan at the time.
Seems to be doing that same jumping motion type thing.
So those are all screenshots of the exact same craft, and as you can see, it's like swimming or something, and
Yeah.
it's like, how big is it? Well, is it this big? Big, or is it, it's like, well, which one do you measure it from? I don't know. So, and then it's got these different colors too. This, the reds, the yellow, the white,
Yeah. Purple. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of green too.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Super. So if people want to comment on it, they can comment in the description on Wendy's channel, my channel, or your channel. What's the name of your channel for people who, if you want to direct people to directly contact you?
Yeah, Dan K. Schroeder is the Dan K. Schroeder is my channel. Hopefully, the screen share is still up there.
Yep, yep.
Good.
What kind of reactions so far from people?
That one pretty good actually. I mean, that particular one with that it shoots like that ring kind of thing and then flows through it. I mean,
Yep.
that is really interesting. So I'm really, really grateful for that. It's such a blessing. I'm so honored that, they shared that with me. I mean, it's, I really am. I really am. It's, the people that don't want to buy it. I mean, I'm kind of honored because if they're going to call it, CGI or say that it's a drone or something, I mean, I mean, cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let them have the out. That's fine.
There you go. Yep. Science and ufology advance one funeral at a time.
Yeah.
And we're a few funerals away.
It's getting there. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now let's get to the you were at this event in the up in northern Wisconsin with the all the weird stuff that was going on there. Can you give me your reaction? And we want to get to
Sure.
the
I'd
story
love.
of the seance. And so but talk generally about the event and then let's get to the sort of the event that I have already interviewed Wendy about.
Okay.
And you
Yeah.
can stop sharing now.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. There we go.
There you go. Beautiful.
Excellent. Excellent. So, yeah, the Big ARB Contact Modalities Tour is my favorite event every year. I love it.
Yeah.
I had an awakening there in 2020. That was my first one there. And ever since, I've just had the most wonderful time at that event every single year. So I go back every year, and it's my favorite thing to do. This year was amazing. It was totally wonderful. We had the most beautiful sky watch. The first night, I got a bunch of different things on video. Only two of them are up live on my channel right now. I'll be uploading the rest soon. So one of our other members, Jeff Sell, had some videos that were pretty good that he captured from that event as well, from that first sky watch. So yeah, it's a great experience. Just an amazing group of people. I mean, it's limited to like 30 people, so and it's a really special group. Melissa, who runs it, does a really good job, organizing and bringing the right people together for it.
Wonderful. Yeah, I know Marcel and I know Kim. So
Sure.
I've hung out at them Mission Rama events, so I'm familiar with especially Marcel. Some of his videos and his photographic stuff is pretty good. Did you have the radios there by any chance?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and tell people a little bit about the radios.
The radios are great. Yeah, I mean, that's Jimmy Blanchett's shared that contact modality with us. I discovered it in 2020 when I went to Big ARB. The people that Marcel and Ricky Butterfast and some of the other people were doing it there, and I got on real quick because it was amazing. Like we've got these walkie-talkies. They're just walkie-talkies, Baofeng walkie-talkies, simple and cheap, and they're just set to the same channel, and everybody has them, and everybody has one set to the same channel, but the way it works out is that the intelligence, the non-human intelligence, will interact with these radios while we're together. And it was amazing for me. Like the second I turn my radio on at my cabin, 45 minutes away from the thing, it starts squeaking at me. And like these radios will start like making static noises and things like that, basically, and interacting with it. But they're only interacting with one individual radio at a time. So you know that it's a unique interaction.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, if
that,
they were a signal, they would be on all the radios, which they're not. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, and we'll get like different signals on different radios. My radio will do one noise, and Wendy's will do another's, and someone else will do another noise. So
Yeah.
all at the same time sometimes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you had the Skywatch, and then let's get to what they are the other events there.
Sure. Yeah. And yeah, we did. Yeah, we did this the Skywatch and the Seance. Was the Seance was the second night. And that was an amazing experience. That was my first one. I was really excited for it because I had seen Grant your special with Desta, the 2-part special about seances, and
Oh yeah.
talked Michael Shane too specifically. And then Michael Shane he wasn't even scheduled to actually be there. It was just going to be Julie Andretti, and we were like, okay, cool. So then when he showed up, it was like this whole extra, big surprise that it's a double whammy here. So it was really exciting. It was really exciting. We got to know them first and listen to, their whole lead up discussion. And, it took a couple hours to really, for everybody to understand all the concepts and how this is all going to work and everything, because, there's a lot there, and it was most people's first time doing this too. So, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, and he's a physical medium, so he makes the stuff appear. So tell us where you were in the circle and what did you see from your vantage point?
Okay, sure. So yeah, I was on. If let's see, if you're facing outwardly, I would be on the right hand side if you were in their box.
Okay.
And I was kind of midway in between, in the row basically.
Okay.
And I was number 23. Um, and yeah, I mean, it was so dark in the area, you couldn't see anything, so dark. I thought I was going to be able to see a little something just because I have really good eyesight, and typically
Yeah.
I adjust a little bit in the dark, but it was so dark, you just really couldn't. So, but I did definitely sense some interesting energies while I was in there. And the question and answer part was one of my favorite things because getting to ask a question to a higher consciousness is a really big deal for me. I've gotten to do that a number of times in life through some way or another, and so that was a big deal. Some of the answers were pretty profound. I would say like Stacy's the question, they had I don't remember what her question was, but they had picked up on that she had these like they call them little people outside her house, and there was just something that she hadn't told anybody, and for them to pick something like that up is really amazing. And I think they picked up Deb's grandchild's name too, which is
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
And Wendy, I mean, she got a healing. That was the biggest thing there. I mean, that was amazing. Like for them to do that, so that was a huge blessing. I mean, it was really fun to be a part of. My favorite thing about it is just like the whole the energy of that group, because the people were just so having so much fun. We were all like singing and it was just like the most beautiful experience because everybody was open to it. It's rare to be in a group of 30 people or 24, however many there were. It was it was about 30 people, I think, though, in total with the presenters and everything. So for all of us to be there, and be open to anything that's happening, and just most of us for our first time, just in joyful anticipation of what's going to happen, and giving ourselves to the universe, and and our higher selves, and just showing up. So that was like my favorite part of it, kind of.
So what was your question? What was your profound question?
Well, I wanted to ask him something about extraterrestrials, so I asked him about this craft from Aquila. This craft last year at Big R, we were in meditation in the circle, and one of the contact sky watches, and the radios start going off one at a time. First mine, then Deb's, and then Madeline Miller's, and then but and we were all eyes closed and paying attention. But later on, I looked at my camera, and there was this huge flash. There was two flashes, one kind of normal, nice flash, and then one giant flash. I mean, it was the biggest flash that I've personally seen doing this so far. And it was like this golden yellowy color too. It was like this really beautiful color, and it happened to be in the exact heart of Aquila, the constellation, which is an eagle constellation symbol. So the heart of Aquila. So I knew that that was really special, you know. And when that happened, like the radios went off too. Both of the radios, the radios went off 3 times. The first two signals were synchronized to the flashes, and then there was a third one, like an after effect. So anyway, I asked about that craft. I wanted to know about my connection with them, and what could they tell us about them, kind of. And the answer that I got was pretty interesting. I mean, they kind of said that it was like Lady Nana said that I was one of 700 people who were connected to them, and that basically at night that I was going on their ship and receiving lessons, and that she said that she prophesied that I was going to once I could download them fully, that I would be sharing them with humanity and writing a book about them. Basically, was her what she
There's
said.
another interview we got to do once you get ready.
Yeah.
Let's go quickly to Wendy here. Where they mentioned you're healing. You're still feeling good. Did you get your heart checked out?
Oh no, I didn't. No, I didn't. It takes like a year to get into anybody to get that done. So no, I haven't. No, I'm feeling really good though. Feeling really good. So
there you go. What was the other problem you had back? It was
my
back in
back,
your back.
my lower back. I had ruptured disc in my lower back, and I actually had to go over and get adjusted because my back had been shifted for so long because of the bulge in my disc. And
Yeah.
so my back was hurting and I couldn't understand why, but because it was the opposite side. And they went in and said, oh, well, the bulge is gone. So we have to bring that side back in again. So I actually had to get adjusted to straighten everything because I didn't have that twist anymore in my right side. So that was,
wow.
yeah, that was very
There you go. So you're still impressed with what happened with your healing.
I'm still really blown away. Yeah, still really blown
Okay,
away.
so Dan, what did you see moving around, or what the talk a little bit about the apportations that it happened after at the end?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was like, I don't know. I like when we were in the dark, like Julie, because Julie's come through in the dark. So that felt kind of like just like being at a parade and like candies flying or something, and you kind of like get hit with it or something. So that's what it kind of felt like, you know. And it was just kind of sudden. All of a sudden, everyone felt like across the whole room, you heard everyone gasp, kind of, and there was just this, and all of a sudden, there was these little jewels everywhere, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
1 minute they weren't there, the next minute they were everywhere, you know. And then so Michael's like that, like I was pretty close to it, but it was really hard to see because there's so many, bodies and people, and everyone's trying to see at the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time. So like, you're trying to see without like blocking everyone else and being rude about it, and so I did the best I could, kind of, and I couldn't really get that close to it, but I was like, well, I'll catch more of the video, I guess. So I was pretty close, and I saw them coming out of his mouth and everything. I just, it was mostly like his mouth was kind of closed more, I would say, when he was, when they were coming out. So it was harder for me to see, like,
Yeah.
if they were kind of dropping or how it was happening, So yeah.
Yeah.
I
Did you,
actually, I actually did some, not a course, but I've been taking some training from Michael himself. And what he said is there's a little slit on the back of the upper part of your mouth. And he said that you can get chemicals from that, but that's where he ports them. Interesting for you, Grant. A little slit. He said if you push your tongue back into that area, you can feel a little line on the back of the upper part of your mouth. And that's where the ports come in.
have you had any success with yours? I mean, are you
no,
making stuff appear or anything yet?
No, I'm not. I wish.
Have you got your little cabinet made?
No, I haven't got my cabinet made.
Oh, there you go.
You're supposed to have it made in brass, I think, not plastic. So
You're supposed to have it in brass? I never heard that before.
I guess I don't know. So we're not there yet. So anyway.
Oh, so how many weeks have you been doing the course?
Well, I've only done it a couple of times. It's only once a week, so I've only done it a couple of times. But I just found that really interesting what he
Yeah.
said. That's where they poured in. He said everybody has this little line in the back of their upper of their mouth, and it's actually for chemicals and stuff. But that's where his apport's coming through. So
There you go.
yeah.
There you go. So as I always make the thing when you get to do it, make sure you can open your mouth so I can film inside your mouth. Did you get any toys to take home, Dan? Did he give you a little item?
Yes, yeah, I did get some jewels. I was gifted a stone from Sananda, who I was told was the reincarnation of Jesus, or who had incarnated as Jesus. And that one was for power and believing in myself. And then I was also given a stone from Maitreya that was with life force energies included, is what how it was said to me. And uh, I also got from Julie, she gave me some orange stones, and they were from Lady Rasha for protection. And then Master Ashtar gave me some small, like clear white ones to thank me basically for my work with extraterrestrials.
Wow. So they did you tell me you're working with extraterrestrials or that's what they told you?
I mean, yeah, that's what they told me. I mean, I think,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they
but
picked up on it then that you
yeah,
were
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they called me Spaceman and a couple other things when they were pretty funny. She was they were joking around with us and everything.
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah, they were
It's
yeah
pretty light.
yeah they kind of knew everybody a little bit. You could tell. Yeah.
wow. So it was a fun time. That's what I heard. It was high energy and lots of fun. So you'd go back again.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
So we
yeah.
might see you down there next year. We'll have to see what comes of it. But yeah, there's probably going to be a lot because we're going to have all these videos. We haven't put a lot of them out yet, but once they're all out, there'll probably be a whole thousand people wanting to get in there, and that probably won't be possible. So
I've already booked.
there you go. I think it's September the 2nd or 3rd next year or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, and I'm trying to encourage people to bring in a medium that can do this what do they call it precipitation medium where they put the box and the cards inside the box and then at the end they open up the box and all the cards are colored and
Yes.
little messages for everybody on the cards and that sounds pretty amazing because you're actually sitting just with the box there. You can the box doesn't go anywhere. It's not like it hides or anything. It's sitting right in front of everybody and one minute it's got blank cards, and next thing it's got these cards with these waxy surfaces on them and all
Mhm.
these drawings and messages and
They were talking about actual full big paintings being done too. They just put the canvas on top of the box and then they all went into trance and that, and they could actually smell the oil paints. There was none there, but they could smell them. And then when they came out of trance, they all had these beautiful pictures.
so they didn't do this here. They do this elsewhere.
Yeah.
Or who are these people? Do
Oh,
you
Michael and Julie. Yeah,
oh they can do them as well. Okay.
they did. Yeah, they did it. So
Wow.
yeah, have to
Fascinating.
talk them into doing that.
Wow. So is there any messages you want to leave with people, Dan, in terms of what you found important and what people you can pass along to them as your chance to sort of get out a sort of a message based upon what you've learned that people can share and move them ahead in their journey?
Yeah, my primary message is the extraterrestrials are our family. They are here to help us ascend. So um, forgive one another, love one another, care for one another. Let's balance the planet. Let's take care of the planet together. We can do better than we were given this planet. The um, I think that most people who are here today and who are going to hear this are already on the path of enlightenment and anyway. So my primary message was just that they are our family. So don't be afraid.
Beautiful,
Don't be afraid.
beautiful. And I see behind you, you got a picture of a mushroom. So do you have you done? a lot of work with psychedelics and with cannabis and stuff like that? If so, we'll
Yes,
have to have an interview down the road because I've written a book on psilocybin. I got a second book coming out on psilocybin, and I'm very interested in that subject because I think it ties in. What's your opinion?
absolutely. I love psychedelics and cannabis. I have lots of different experiences on psychedelics. I've had, different, many different experiences on them. LSD, mushrooms, DMT. Um,
Oh wow! No, we'll have to do an interview. So let's set it up for next month. We'll do
sure,
it. I'm quite interested. I've done all that kind of research, and I think it's a gateway. It's one of the modalities. I mean, it's
it is. It
kind of
is.
like getting on a roller coaster that you sort of can't get off once you get on it. But if you go towards whatever, be curious and handle it properly and control the fear and realize that this is yourself giving yourself messages, then it's quite a valuable type of thing to follow. So let's do that next month, and we'll have a little chat. I'm actually supposed to be interviewing a guy who's supposed to be an expert. He's written a bunch of books on it, and there's a lot of interest. But of course, now with psychedelics, people have discovered you can make money from it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's all sorts of funding going in, and everybody's trying to patent everything. And it's ufology. There's still no money in it, so we're still moving kind of slow. Once they figure a way to make money, then it'll all take off. But it's the way it sort of works in the modern world. Beautiful. Thank you, both of you, for coming on, and maybe we can do another interview with Wendy down the road on the blindfold reading. Maybe you can get somebody on. We can do a live show where somebody does something live, bring in one of your better students or even the blind students or something like that. And I think that's very important. And that one's another one that people haven't discovered how to make money, so it's moving kind of slow. And we're a few thousand funerals away from that kind of stuff, but that's extremely important. I mean, if people can see without their eyes, you got to consider and start wondering like what the heck's really going on here.
Yeah.
And I just thank God every day that we got to play this game on the leading edge of what's going on, because most people just living ordinary lives, and we get to like play in the Super Bowl every day. So I thank you for your contributions and for your input. And as I said, let's do another interview on blindfold reading, and we'll do one on psychedelics, which I'll have lots of questions for you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor for me. Thank you.
Beautiful, yeah, wonderful. And we'll link this up. I'll send you a video copy of it. You can put it up, and hopefully we can get people going your direction, and we can get you some input, and you'll be off to the races and get more encouragement to do your job as we all have to do our job.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay.